It's all about reaction time, and I'm going to discuss a way to decrease it dramatically that no one else talks about.
14 meters.
This will save your life. It's helped me countless times when I'm riding my Harley hard. So let's talk about how you can dramatically decrease the time it takes for you to react to any situation on your motorcycle. They say riding a motorcycle is dangerous. It certainly has the potential to be dangerous. You've got minimal protection and you're relying on skills you've developed over the years to keep you alive. But what about if something happens in front of you that's beyond your control? Let's say a car pulls out in front of you, or you have to brake heavily for some other reason. Then it's up to you, and it's about your mind's ability to react that's going to save your bacon. There's a simple way to dramatically decrease your reaction time to an event, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Hi, my name's Eamon. Welcome to the channel. Today we've got an interesting and very important topic. Later in the video, there are details about the $1,000 Resurgence Gear giveaway competition. Now don't forget, if you like the channel and you get something from it, and you want it to continue, consider becoming a subscriber. It's free. Also like and comment on the videos, because creators like me rely on you. YouTube's only going to show the video if you show a response. Even if you tell me where to go in the comments, it helps. Rightio, there's a difference between reactions and reflexes. Your reaction to something is a voluntary response, but reflexes are involuntary or unintentional. Now, both reflexes and reactions happen as a result of a stimulus. In other words, something has to happen first. A reflex is like when you hear a car horn really close, you might turn your head immediately, automatically. If you roar past a car on your Harley and you're really close, you might notice that the driver instinctively looks or recoils, perhaps even swerves away a little bit from that sudden noise. A reaction, however, is the way you assess and then act on the assessment that you've made. It's still seriously fast, but it's based on your voluntary response, and it's slower than a reflex action. Sometimes when I'm driving my car and I'm reacting to a serious situation, my wife sitting next to me might scream, and reflex will involuntarily kick in, and I'll look to her direction momentarily without wanting to. And it's reflex that makes me do this. And this, of course, slows my reaction to the actual dangerous event, because I now need to react to two simultaneous events, whatever's happening in front of me and my wife's scream. This has happened so often now that I've trained my reflex to not respond to the event, the scream. So you can influence your reflex, but when it happens, I can still feel my reflex wanting to move my head in her direction. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy driving at my place. Now we could argue, and I don't know how to measure it, that this still negatively impacts my reaction to the actual danger on the road. So the process of reacting requires you to first perceive what's happening and then act on it. So reaction is actually in two parts: perception and then action. Perception time is dependent on your assessment and understanding of the situation, and that, of course, is influenced by your experience. Perception time can be as long as 3/4 of a second, even more if you're an inexperienced rider. Somebody who's new to riding will take a lot longer to assess the situation that's in front of them. They might not even know what to do because they've never experienced anything like this before. So an experienced rider will perceive the situation much faster. So if you're used to high pressure, fast reaction situations, this actually does translate, in part anyway, to motorcycling, because reaction time can be improved with practice. Any physical activity where you respond with action to a stimulus will help reaction time.
Ready, set, go!
And that includes playing sports, computer games, and the martial arts. I know when I took up boxing as a young dude, my reaction time dropped dramatically. I tested it regularly because I was absolutely fascinated with the fact that this could happen. It was like having a new brain. But of course, this might have been eventually cancelled out by getting punched in the head a lot. So after you perceive, you then have to act, and this also takes time. You've got to change your grip to squeeze the front brake, You've got to move your foot onto the brake pedal and then press it. And that's why covering the brake in certain situations is ideal, because it means that the time it takes to act is a lot shorter. Your actual stopping distance is affected by many different things on top of your reaction time. So how fast you're going has a huge impact on stopping distance. So does your weight, traction, and your actual brakes. You've got high quality brakes, do you have ABS, and a whole range of technical factors are going to influence it. Every split second counts, and if you're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour, that's about 60 miles per hour for you people in the United States. It means that you're moving at 27.8 meters per second, about 91 feet per second. So you're covering a lot of ground. Extra speed increases your braking distance dramatically. So when you're hammering, you've got to compensate for that. So you can create greater distance between you and cars. You can cover your brake, like I said before, or you can have an out. If I'm hammering, I'll sit closer to the outside of the lane or the middle of the road, so that if the car in front of me stops or slows down suddenly, not only can I wipe off speed fast by covering the brake, but I've also got a way out and around the car with an easier maneuver than if I was sitting in the middle of the lane or closer to the curb. But even if you're doing the crawling speed of 60 kilometers per hour, that's 40 miles per hour in American speak, you probably need a good 60 meters, that's 200 feet, to stop. Now, big guys on big heavy bikes, well, now, perception time is about half of your stopping time, but here's where it gets super interesting, and it's a lifesaver. But before I tell you that, remember the Resurgence Gear motorcycle clothing giveaway. $1,000 worth of Resurgence Gear motorcycle clothing just in time for Christmas. Every $150 you spend on Resurgence Gear gets you one ticket in the draw. Get yourself or your buddy the best Christmas present ever, except if someone buys you a Harley. Make sure you use the code OldNotDead when you buy. The website and details are in the description of this video. Right, let's go. So we're talking about reaction time. What about if you're daydreaming? I've spoken about this before in other videos. Most people spend the vast majority of their day in a daydream, not being fully present to what's going on around them. So you're riding your motorcycle and you're in a daydream when something happens on the road. That's going to add a further half to a full second to your perception time. Think about that. Just even a half second to slip out of your daydream when you're doing 100 kilometers an hour on the freeway will see you traveling 14 meters. That's 14 meters before you can even start to perceive the situation.
This is how far 14 meters is from the bike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's a long way.
Now, some people are going to say, and I do agree, with a big but at the end, the nature of riding a motorcycle, because it's a dangerous activity, puts you on full alert. It makes you present and it prevents you from being in this daydream state. But that's assuming the way you are riding puts you into the alert state. And this is one of the reasons that I and many other people have a gripe about the speed limit. Many people find this speed too easy, too boring, especially on a smooth, empty freeway. And all that happens is you're cruising half asleep. People switch off and they're not even close to being alert riding at the speed limit. So cruiser riders, be careful, because the nature of cruising at any speed is to be relaxed. Now ride faster and your mind becomes more alert. And yes, I know there are other dangers that come into play. I'm just talking about alertness. I'm not advocating even thinking about breaking a speed limit, because they're even developing thought police now, and they're probably already on their way to your house to spoil your fun. Now, alert mode on a motorcycle brings up an interesting point. If you're being alert and present because of heightened danger, and whether that's perceived danger or real danger doesn't actually matter, you're still in an alert state. You can only stay in this state for so long it's very stressful. And then of course you get tired and mistakes escalate. So being present in alert mode is a great way to be, but only for a very, very short period of time. So the concept of being present and completely aware of your surroundings without being in that traditional motorcycle alert mode, it's the exact opposite of a daydream. It's something that is very simple, but it takes work to develop. It's actually an ancient spiritual practice. It's got a lot of other benefits in your life that I won't mention here because it scares a lot of people off. But let's just say your life improves in a lot of ways. In regard to reaction time, it helps enormously as discussed. It's just a matter of using a range of techniques to pull yourself constantly out of daydreams and distractions, and then strengthen the faculty that keeps you here in the present state. Now, it's a simple concept, but it takes endless practice, because a daydream is a series of thoughts, and thoughts in your mind have endless overlapping layers. Try it now. Feel yourself getting present by tuning into your physical senses. See where you are in your room or your car, wherever you're watching this. You might be watching this driving down the freeway because you're going so slow. Wherever you are, tune into your physical senses. Try and feel where you are. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel what your hands are touching. Use your eyes to see. Listen to your surroundings. Try and do it all simultaneously without thinking about it. That is being present. You'll notice that you slip into a series of thoughts. Pull yourself out of those thoughts, because when you're thinking, you're pretty much daydreaming. But the same thing happens when you're lost in thought. You're not present. It gets easier with practice, and it certainly makes motorcycle riding a lot safer.